Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you inky savages are joining us for episode number 188 of the PenBoyRoy Pentertainment Podcast. This week we have a very cool guest on. Her name is G, and she works over at Karis Pen Company, formerly known as the Karis Customs. That's what they were called.
Customs. Yeah.
Karis Customs, yeah. But she's here representing Karis Customs or Karis Pen Company to talk about Karis Pen Company. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I definitely been wanting and itching to get someone over there from Karis Pen Company on the show because I have such a passion and love for my Karis Custom Fountain ink. And you guys got to check it out. Make sure the website will be in the description below, so check out their pens. They got some sales going on, and I think it's really cool. Reach out to them. Tell them you say hi. Tell them PBR and the Odd Oink sent you. Maybe they'll hook you up. Who knows? Speaking of getting hooked up, guess what? There's an affiliate link in the description below to Gold Spot Pens, and if you click on it and buy stuff from it, it's hooking everybody up because you'll also be able to use a coupon code Titanium at checkout for pretty much most of the products on the Gold Spot affiliate link website. So make sure you check that out. Put money in everybody's pocket except for yours, but we're replacing it with a pen. Right? So anyway, go ahead and check that out. I think you'll definitely gain from it. Everybody will gain, and you'll get pens at a discounted price using coupon code Titanium at checkout. I want to talk about a bunny. Not Bugs Bunny. Not any bunny. But the Easter Bunny. Introducing the Easter Bunny fountain pen by Benu. Specially crafted for Easter 2024 in a highly exclusive limited edition of just 100 pens. So there's only going to be 100 on the planet Earth. In a planet with 7.5 billion people, only 100 of them will be able to get this pen. Enveloped in the essence of the season, this pen showcases a palette of traditional pastel spring tones, pink, yellow, and green, and is decorated with hand-painted colorful eggs, spring flowers, and of course, a bunny. It will be available in retail stores starting March 11th, 2024. Each pen features a unique serial number hand-painted on its barrel. So if there's only 100 of them, and there's definitely more than 100 retail stores in the U.S., especially worldwide, how is it going to be, how do they choose who gets, one pen per retailer? How does that work?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know exactly how many Gold Spot we'll be getting, but this would be something that you could hop on to the website and use the Titanium promo code to be able to get yours.
There you go.
And
yeah.
I think that it would be just if you were a pen enthusiast who hopped down the rabbit hole of collecting fountain pens and found yourself with an Easter Bunny fountain pen in your Easter basket, possibly.
So many puns. Every single one of them intentional. But anyway, I want to get started with this week's episode. I'm really excited to have G on from Karis Pen Company. This is episode number 188 of the PenBoyRoy Pentertainment Podcast. Before we get started, I want to give you guys a quick disclaimer. This podcast is not scripted and therefore will contain potty mouth words. Mostly from me. Maybe from Tom. G doesn't come across as potty mouth word type person. But anyway, be forewarned. You have been warned. Now, on to the podcast.
The PenBoyRoy Entertainment Podcast. Stay savage.
And today we are here, as I said in the introduction, we are here with our good friend G of Karis Customs. We're really excited to have G here with us. So we were just chatting a little bit in the green room before the show started. And she was telling us that she is an employee of Karis Pen Company. That's what they call it now. I think they used to call it Karis Customs. And she has been an employee for the better part of 6 years, which is fantastic because that means she knows a lot and she can talk to us a lot about it. So, you know what? I got to turn off the air. Hold on. This is all part of the show. All right, we're going to start that over. All right.
Air conditioning when it's like 30 degrees outside.
That's because I can't open my windows. Alrighty.
Jeez.
All right, and we're here for episode number 188. And as I said in the introduction and the sponsorship, which you guys are going to take advantage of, we are here with our good friend G of Kustoms. And we were talking in the green room earlier. She has been an employee of Kustoms, now called Pen Company, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. For about 6 years. And for 6 years, she has a lot of information to give us. I'm interested in the backstory of Pen Company and everything that Pen Company has to offer. So, G, would you please introduce yourself to the world, all 7 viewers?
Okay, no pressure. So my name is G. I used to work in pharmaceuticals, like I was a trainer. I traveled the world a lot, and my kids kind of grew up. And they graduated high school, and Bill, the shop owner, needed a designer and asked if I was ready to switch careers because I was looking for some work-life balance, So I weighed out the pros and cons, and having more home life and be able to work for a small mom and pop shop and not have to feel so pressured every day, it was worth it. So I made the transition about 6 years ago. My husband already worked for the company. He's worked for Bill even before he was a pen company. So he used to just work around the shop. It was a lot of car parts, things like that he would machine versus pens. Mm-hmm. And the pens came on later with another designer that he had, and they just did a Kickstarter for the K-Series pens. And that was the first launch. And that Kickstarter has really set it off for turning into from Kustoms, where they did custom stuff, to Pen Co. So and then that's how Pen Co came around. I want to say about 5 years ago, they started rebranding because we wanted to be known for pens versus customizing cards and whatnot. So that was the transition and kind of how I came about. So now my husband, he does the marketing there, the photography, all the stuff on social media, things like that. I'll run designing stickers, things for like the shop and marketing and, customer service, your assembly, just all kinds of stuff, faceting, machine shop stuff. So everyone just kind of helps each other out. We're just a small crew of like 5 with, Bill will bring his teenage kids to come and help. And during the summertime, we get a lot of family and kids that will come and want an internship there. So it's kind of nice. It's real family oriented.
Oh, that's cool. So you said you were in pharmaceuticals before. So the transition from pharmaceuticals to fountain pens happens. You become a designer for Pen Company. What was your connection to fountain pens other than your husband having worked for Bill? Bill, I'm assuming, is the owner of Kustoms, right?
So it's Bill Karas. There is no Karas. She doesn't work for us. That's a question we get asked a lot. So are you Kara? Like, no. So Karas is the last name. Bill is the owner, Bill Karas. And I had no affiliations with pen. I didn't even know pens were a thing. Like, I knew of fountain pens. I've used them. I do a lot of, I would say calligraphy, but with markers and a chisel tip. So I knew about handwriting. That's what I was more familiar with. And then my husband gifted me my first rollerball pen that wasn't plastic. And I think it was like a little small pen, little click pen. And that pen was a limited edition. It came with a rickshaw sleeve that we partnered with, and I lost it. So, and I had just started dating. Yeah, my husband or my boyfriend at the time. So I was like, oh, he's never going to give me anything. And then I quickly became fascinated, and I learned a lot about fountain. I'm still learning about fountain pens. I use them almost daily. I test a lot of the nibs. I'm learning how to tune nibs and get them, like a lot of the nibs that we'll get back that are faulty, I'm able to kind of remedy them now. And I go to the pen shows, and there's definitely rollerball folks. There's the vintage crowd. There's the fountain pen folks, and that's like intermingled with like vintage and new. So it's super huge. And now, like, I know as much as I do about pharmaceuticals as I do about fountain pens. But I don't know, because fountain pens they're
That's nice.
complicated. Yeah.
Right, right. And when you get addicted to fountain pens, there's less, I guess I want to say there's less
Side
negative
effects?
consequence. Yeah, less side effects other than an empty wallet than there is when you get addicted to pharmaceuticals. I'm just, I'm fascinated by the fact that you went from pharmaceuticals, marketing for pharmaceuticals, to pretty much marketing and designing for fountain pens. That difference in terms of lifestyle must be dramatically different, right?
It's like night and day. Like, it's still kind of hard for me to not build a spreadsheet for everything, or like it's hard to dress down. It's hard to, it's real relaxed at the shop, and sometimes I get so like innovate. I want to do this. I have all these grand ideas, and it's just like, like it's definitely a different pace. I don't have to stay up all night. It's not pressure, but I mean, some of the emails that you get, like, I do feel like the pen situation almost feels like a pacemaker. Like, oh my gosh, like I need my nib, like it's not working. This is, and like, so I treat everybody with almost the same kind of care as I did when I was working in that industry with, people that I was dealing with a lot with insurance and stuff like that and processing claims for folks. So it's a huge difference. And I would say the pens do have their own rewards, like especially when you go into the community and learn that, there's something for everybody. Like my husband does BMX collecting. I collect magazines, vintage toys, and now fountain pens. And I collect a lot from the makers that I meet at the shows, like, Jonathan Brooks. He designs pen blanks and does his own pens, and he teaches a lot. So there's a lot of like, how can you say, like, you can bounce ideas off each other. No one's like trying to steal an idea. We don't look at other pen companies as, competitors. They're always, it's just a different style of what we do. And I love the camaraderie. Like, there's really good people at pen shows and that collect, and you can just kind of see, because we deal with car collectors, and it's just all kind of different kind of people, and it's just a nice, good feeling when you go to a pen show. There's no pressure, you hang around, you talk about inks, you talk about nibs, you show off your nib grind. If you have awesome handwriting, like that's a thing. You're showing off your paper. Where did you get it? The pen holders, like the stationery world is like so fascinating, and it doesn't have that pressure of the corporate world. And that was a big pro for me to switch.
It's definitely not as cutthroat as pharmaceuticals could be.
No, not at all. Like you can go on vacation and really just relax, like we get kind of testy at the shop sometimes because we're like a family, but it's like, it's pens, just relax, it's not a big deal.
Right.
I mean, we'll get by another
Well,
day. Some
as a
people buy our
pharmaceutical,
stuff. Yeah, sorry.
as a pharmaceutical rep, I'm assuming you had to travel a lot.
Oh yeah, I was probably home.
Oh yeah.
I would say 2 months out of a year I would be home, and the rest of the time I would have to
wow.
raise my kids on like FaceTime. And we didn't have these kind of meetings on the computer, so FaceTime was real choppy. And if I'm in another country, like I was in the Philippines, and I would call my kids and they'd be like, "Mom, it's like 1 a.m." Like, oh, sorry, So just that lifestyle, it weighed heavy on me. I had to do it as a single mom, that whole story. But I wouldn't take it back for nothing. That again, in that world, you meet good and bad, and you get to decide certain things on your beliefs in that kind of world. And kind of, it's definitely tough. There's pressure there. You're kind of trying to teach things that sometimes you don't solely believe in, but I mean, it's your job, and I represent everything that I've worked for to the fullest. And now with Kara's, it feels better. I'm representing for a family business that is my family now too, so, Bill went to our wedding, and, it's really family oriented, and it just feels like so less pressure.
I'm wondering, because just through my connections in the fountain pen industry, for example, Kenro Industries, they're distributors for a lot of Italian brands like Montegrappa and Aurora. They're owners of Estabrook. But what I always find is they're like Major League Baseball players in terms of their traveling schedule. They're always traveling year-round for shows, for different events, for Estabrook or for Montegrappa, for Aurora. Is the traveling element still there for you since you changed careers from pharmaceuticals to fountain pens, or is it less? Is it more? What's your opinion on the traveling and how it takes a toll on your ability to be home with the family now in the fountain pen industry versus the pharmaceutical industry?
So the travel's less, but it's more in terms of quality. I get to travel with my husband. So, or I get to take Ellery, which is Bill's daughter. We'll go, he'll send one of the kids with me. So I get to have a travel buddy, and the work, it's not even like work. I just get to hang out and sell our cool pens and talk to cool people. So it don't feel like a benefits fair. Well, I'm selling you insurance or talking about certain things, and you have these strong opinions about what's in network and what's not, where these are just pens, so there's no pressure there. The travel is fun. It almost feels like a vacation. You get kind of a break. You're out of the shop. We just got back from California. We left the day of Valentine's Day, and we made a pit stop at Harrah's because we're not into casinos, but I'm a big Gordon Ramsay fan, and I wanted to eat at Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
So yeah, we made reservations for Hell's Kitchen, got to eat there, and then spent the night, drove the rest of the way up to the pen show, and then had an awesome show, and then drove home. So it didn't even feel like work, and we get paid for it, and it's kind of nice. Come back, get back in the shop, and then we'll get Bill ready. He's leaving to the Baltimore pen show coming up in a few weeks. And then we're looking at other ones. So we get to travel all around the United States throughout the year, and we kind of separate it between each of us, between me, Bill, and Paul, who's our marketing guy, that he does like all of our emails, inventory, stuff like that. So yeah, it feels way better than traveling with corporate, where you're living in hotels for like months, and it's too much. Like, I get like real homesick. I would always stay in the lobbies. There was people at certain hotels in like Houston and Kansas City that I love to travel to, and I'd always book the same hotel because, you start to get known there, and then you have your people. They know what you want. They know what you drink. They know what you're into. And so I've grown relationships around the world, and it's real fun in that aspect. But the pen world, I would travel for that over corporate travel any day. Yeah, for sure.
Is there an aspect about traveling for the fountain pen industry that you still find difficult compared to the pharmaceutical industry? Like, is there an aspect about the traveling that you would prefer not to deal with? And if so, what is that aspect?
Going through security, because when you're entering planes, a lot of people don't know that pens are a thing. So I make sure that I have like pen show brochures so they can see that these are pens, because we had people, they'll get things like this is a decograph, and it's heavy, and it looks like a weapon to some of them, so they don't, some of them, I've only got 2 emails out of like the 6 years I've been there where TSA has confiscated their pens, but they've complimented them on their pen before. So I'm like, I just feel like they voluntarily, confiscated it as a weapon. Like, it's clearly a writing instrument. It was probably clipped next to somebody's briefcase in a bag or something. So with me, you just have to be prepared for them to take all of your books out. They'll look through everything. They'll ask you some really, stupid questions. This is a thing. I'm on the way to that thing. So just the security is like the biggest thing. With corporate, you're usually with a carry-on. You already know the drill in security. You're pretty much seated. With fountain pens, and it's not so much the fountain pen aspect, it's because we make them out of metal that makes security just a bit harder to deal with, and they're heavy. So there's that.
Right. And also they're tubular. Like, you have pens that are made of brass that are tubular, and I can see being like a TSA agent, seeing like something that resembles brass casings for like a, a 223 or 556 round, and you're like, wait a minute, what is that? What is that? And then there are some pens out there that they actually use like 556
Like a
casings.
shotgun shell.
Look at that. Yeah. And that goes through the security. Someone's going to be like, what the fuck is that? That looks like a bullet, right? But I think that in 6 years, you said this only happened twice where they had to confiscate the pens?
Yeah, and I travel with my pens all the time. I've always been in airplanes. I've worked at corporate still while I had, pens from Karis. I never had any issues with them, but different strokes for different folks. I mean, what if that TSA was like, hey, this is kind of cool, and I can clearly, say this looks like a weapon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to,
This is a gorgeous fountain pen. It's also extremely deadly. I must take it away from you. I'm sorry.
You're lucky, G, that I don't work for TSA, because the moment I see you, I'll be like, oh, I know you. Yeah, hey, what's going on? You're on the podcast. Gotta confiscate all these pens.
Sorry.
Doing
All
my
of them.
job. Sorry.
That would
You see,
be
like,
a
Bryce
very-
is next on the line. You see, like, Ryan is there. It's like, no. See, all of those so dangerous. You could be stabbing
They're
people
so-
with those
they're-
nibs.
They're so sharp, you know what I mean? You can't have that on the plane. I'm going to have to keep those for my personal collection.
Ink is toxic. You don't know what's in that stuff. Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
if you
So-
drop a copper ink fountain pen on your leg, it's gonna hurt like a weapon. So
Yeah. Walking barefoot in your apartment and you drop it on your foot. Yeah, that's not going to feel good, right?
No.
So you've been there for 6 years. How long can you give us some backstory into how Bill Karis went from, like, how did he get into just start making fountain pens from automotive parts, right? So, like, you would think that automotive parts is probably a more lucrative, more, I guess, a business where you can have more sales and stuff. How did he transition from that to strictly fountain pens?
Well, Bill's definitely a car guy. He's not a pen guy by any means, and he will tell you that. He doesn't know fountain pens. He couldn't tell you anything about inks or all that fancy jazz. I mean, he does know quite a bit now because he does the pen shows and they do ask questions. And he's the type that will figure it out. But it was really the designer that was there that had the Kickstarter for that Render K pen. And then it started to gradually build traction, and it started to really be a business where he needed more help. He brought on more machines to produce more and faster. And he still does car parts. He still does, there's a lot of big names of cars that, I thought we were making a magnifying glass casing, but it was actually a tail light cover for like a Mustang or a Corvette. I forget what car, but the thing was like $100,000 car, beautiful car. So there's always something going on at the shop that's not pen related. So it's kind of both. But the pens definitely.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're definitely our bread and butter. And we do take on other kind of contracts with other businesses, and we'll do parts for them. So we are, like, not to give up a bunch of details, but to kind of put it out there. But we are collaborating with some other pen companies that are real popular. I won't say the name yet. And we're going to work with them to manufacture a body for their pen and do it like a collaborative effort, so we can kind of show people in that world of those pen collectors and then our folks and kind of merge together. So it's real exciting to kind of, work with other pen makers, work with other car folks. We even do parts for, some gun makers. So there's just so many things that we can do at the shop, but we are primarily pens.
So I'm just curious, what gun makers
I can't say.
you mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I don't
right,
know
next
how much,
question then.
yeah,
I have
exactly.
a
It's only
like out of the
guns are definitely a sensitive topic to our brand, and so many folks that do collect we are like, we stay out of, like politics, all that stuff. So when it comes to something that
Fair
is so
enough.
passionate for some folks, that's why we kind of steer on the fence of caution with that.
So the Paris Karis Pen Company, you said deals in other manufacturing. So what percentage would you say is pens versus everything else for the
I would
Karis
say
Pen Company?
everything else would be like 10 to 15%. So it's very low.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, pens
Right.
are definitely our life. Like that is our bread and butter. Just the side stuff is mainly, to keep the relationships open for the car industry. The car industry is definitely something that Bill is passionate about. He's very into Volkswagens. His best friend does also collects Volkswagens. They all collect cars. So and then the car world out here is big. So just to be able to have that connection, like I'm going to be doing a pen table at a car show that's up in March, and it's right down the street from me here in Chandler. And it's a truck show, but because we're a machine shop, they like that and they invite us there, and we're local. So it just kind of gives us, because our kind of our demographic is just all over the place. We don't know. We have people that are EDC people that collect our stuff, car guys because they know Bill, and where we come from the shop is a kind of, and then we have fountain pen people, and so our demographics just all over the place. And it's kind of hard to like narrow in marketing to a certain audience because it's so broad.
Do you guys make your own challenge coins? Because I see on your website you guys have all these challenge coins that you sell. Do you make those yourself?
So last year we did, kind of by year, it all depends. So last year we did cut the brass, we put all the ridges on the coins, and those are for our pen club, the Karis Pen Club coins. And then this year we actually go to a coin company. I'm not sure who they are, but they're actually like they make coins, like they almost look like real coins. So this year we did not. We do have a gentleman in California named Ish. He did the coin designs on those, which was really cool. And so we kind of work with a lot of people to design and help us do stuff. Or if the coins we did in house, and then we had a hand laser every single one of them. So a lot of folks
It
just
would take forever.
really, yeah, don't understand the work and the detail that it takes to
Right.
make something so small. Like we were hand sanding all of those, we lasered them all by hand. So yeah, it was a lot of work. We're like, yeah, let's not do that this year.
Well, earlier you had mentioned that the company is about 5 strong, right? I'm just wondering how many pens is the company able to produce on a monthly basis with 5 people? And of those 5 people, how many are dedicated, if at all dedicated, to just making fountain pens?
So we have two guys on the machines, full time. Bill is a machine guy too. He's always working, so he's always in the shop with us. So I count him as a machine guy. So and it all depends on what we're making, how many parts the pen has. So something like this is a decograph and it has finials. So there's a finial here, a thing that screws into the end. There's one here, and then we also have the clip, and then we also have to machine the grip. So that kind of pen would take a lot longer, and you have to run first the bodies or first, so it all depends on how many parts. On average, I would say maybe a couple thousand or so, but that's all different kind of pens.
Wow.
We don't just run like a fountain pen, so it's all different. We have things that we have to machine that are in anodize. We have things machined that are in stock that we send, like what our next release is going to be. So it's just a huge production. It's hard to say when. You got to account for variables. Say a machine goes down, or we can't get the material in. There's a shortage. So there's so many things, and we didn't have titanium. Like we don't have a titanium fountain pen, but we did start machining titanium, pens, and it took a lot of years to get this metal onto the machines because it's so tough on tooling. So There's a lot of things that kind of factor in, like I didn't know that titanium, it heats up and then it gets so hot it can start fires in there. So, and it smells bad. Like, when something's burning out, oh, they're doing titanium today. Like, oh,
Right.
I'm not working in here. So, yeah, it's just, there's so many things, but we can, couple, sometimes 1,000, sometimes 500. It just all depends on what we're making, how many parts it has, and what material it is.
So I also was looking at the inks, the fountain pen inks that you guys have, and the fountain pen Ks, and pricing to me, at least from a consumer's perspective, is very reasonable. It's not as high as one would expect if you're getting a pen made of solid copper, solid brass, or something like that, right? Is this keeping the cost down? Is this part of the reason why you guys have no distributor or no relationship with distributors, and you're doing everything on your own and not going through retailers? What's the story with that? Like, is that a decision just to keep the company small? You don't want it to grow, that kind of thing?
I mean, we definitely want it to grow. It's just, there's a lot of things that play in there too. Like, we want to keep it true to the name. So we will machine pens for other companies, but they have to know it's from us. We're not going to put our pen so you can put your name on it type thing. Have been asked to do that, but we just won't. Like, it does keep costs down doing it in-house. And like at the pen shows, folks will do their rounds and they end up back at the table because we are affordable. And that's what we want to do. Like, it's going to look good. It's going to last you. We guarantee our stuff. If a clip breaks or if you drop your pen on the tip and you need help, just send it to us. We'll fix it. We don't charge you. You don't even have to buy it from us. As long as it's our pen, we'll fix it for you for free. And it's not, it's industrial, but it also, our brass and copper looks good. It feels good. It helps a lot of folks that have shaky hands to steady them. So we try to be competitive in a sense that, we definitely want to sell a lot of pens, but we also want you to be able to afford them, because having a pen like this is definitely a luxury. It's not something you absolutely need. We totally get, but as a collector and somebody that you're passionate, like, I love stuff. Like, if I'm going to ride all day, I want it to look good. I want it to feel good, just like anything I do. My husband does BMX bikes, so he's going to get the best tools for what he does and what he's, proud of. Fountain pen folks, they want to write with the best nibs. They want them to feel smooth. They want it to write right away. You start having, and you want it to look good. You want your collection to kind of suit you. So it's like, what's life if we can't enjoy the stuff that makes us feel good, that when we write with it, when we watch it, when we write it. So that's where it really helps with me, and, how being different, but also being affordable, like, it does take a lot to sometimes, and we run deals like this guy, the one that started us, we're now discontinuing, but you can get these right now.
The K?
The K series. This one's $35 online, and
No way.
yeah, so it's like we run all these specials because we know, hey, it gets tough for folks, but we still want to collect, so we run these specials for folks to be able to be part of the whole collection. And it's kind of, I kind of feel almost honored when I see these other pen makers now, and they look so similar to our pens. It's like, oh yeah, we did that. Yeah.
They're copying.
Yeah.
You said that the K is going to be discontinued. Is something taking its place, and why is it being discontinued?
It's just one of those pens that it just sits on the shelf now, and we have other designs that we definitely want to launch in replace of this, but it does come down to like even costs. Like, when you have a business, does it cost me more to keep putting this out than I'm even making? So on the business side of it, it just doesn't make sense right now to keep machining something that's very slow moving, and it sells. Like, it's a popular pen, but it's not as popular as if we created something brand new, and people get more excited about that these days, something more limited. I'm noticing limited stuff is just, it's kind of cool because no one wants to wear the same t-shirt to the store that somebody else has on, you know.
Yeah, sure. So I have some questions about design stuff that has happened at Karis Pen Company over the last several years, and I want to know what involvement, if any, did you have in it. So years ago, the Karis Pen Company, they used Bach nibs. They still do. And at the time, they were unbranded. And then I think within the last couple of years, they started branding the nibs with an Art Deco style of lettering and stuff, which I really enjoy because it reminds me of one of my favorite video games, BioShock, and everything was Art Deco in that video game. But I noticed that they have a very strong identity in their nib branding. Did you have something to do with that, being the designer?
Not in
what
this.
did that? How did that come about?
So the nib branding, so Bach had their first, they would send us nibs with their branding on them, and then they later offered the nibs blank so we can put our own branding on them. And that is right before I had came on. And so the last designer did that design, and now we're working on, you know, making another nib design. And then like the one that I use now, this was an a launch, but it is, let me see if I could get it steady. So it was a little Sasquatch on there. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so I'll do little designs now where I'm gonna try, I'm actually designing another nib design for another release. So now that we have more nibs in stock that, you know, they're not branded, I'm able to, you know, make more designs on nibs because it's kind of neat when you have like a launch. Like I poured, this is my first pen pour in the acrylics. I'll get it to where it's like kind of.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
So I want to do pen pours
very
that
nice.
have like a theme, and then we'll have like its own custom nib. And that will keep, you know, folks feel a little special because I only did 5 of this one, and then 5, there's only like 100 of different options of nibs. So it keeps it fun having that nib kind of branded. It will always be our branding, but it'll always have some fun to it also.
Okay. There was another aspect about the custom ink, the fountain ink, that I found very interesting. So I think back in 2018 or 19 even, the ink was just all metal, aluminum, whatever metal it is that the consumer selected. And then you would cap it and uncap it, and it was just metal on metal. A few years later, they started adding these O-rings to the inside of the caps, which really did elevate the quality of life of owning one of the fountain inks. Whose responsibility was that? Because I think that tooling of putting a groove so that O-ring can fit in there makes such a huge difference in the pen.
Yeah, it changed the whole quality of life of having an ink because my first ink, it would just, the cap would just come off like no problem. And I think this is the newer one. So the engineers in the back between Bill and there's our machinist Josh, they always come with these innovative ideas, and it always shocks me. Even the O-ring that keeps the cap on the Vertex pen, it's a snap cap, and it's just an O-ring that holds it to make that little snap sound. And as a brain that don't think like an
Everybody loves that
engineer,
snap sound.
it just kind of blows my mind when they did the O-ring. So the O-ring happened, and folks wanted to like retrofit their cap, and it just didn't work. Like we couldn't take the O-rings and put them on the older caps. So the hack that I came up with that I use to this day on one of my copper inks is right on the threads on the inside of the pen, I'll put a little white strip of medical tape. I'll just kind of push it in there, and then when I go to cap it, it will start grooving into the threads, and it holds just as good as the O-ring. I mean, it don't look as pretty, but it's inside the cap. You can't see it, but it won't come apart in your bag or your pocket. So like 3 of my copper inks that I have, because I use like the blem copper, so I don't have all this money to buy inks, but we do have pens that get dinged up, so those are the ones in my collection. But I have 3 copper of the older inks, and they have different nibs in them. And I like writing with the heavier copper when I'm doing like cursive. It just holds my
Myself
hands
too,
steady. Yeah, so that
Mm-hmm.
O-ring, they're in a bag. When I would pull the pen out, the body would be in my slot still, and then I'd have the cap. But ever since I used that medical tape, that little hack, and it doesn't happen at all. So, but yeah, that O-ring.
Did you ever
Yeah.
consider using Teflon tape? Teflon tape that would possibly work too, right?
I mean, I just used what I had in the
Because
medical
Teflon.
cabinet, and yeah. So, but I'm sure Teflon would work. Anything in there that will kind of just start wedging with the metal, it totally work.
Yeah,
Just add that level of
yeah.
security onto that pen. Yep.
I think by now, though, everything in circulation is the newer version that has the O-ring nested inside the groove design that it was designed for.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people out there, if they're buying pens now, then they're getting the updated version, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I had a question and it just flew out of my brain. Oh yeah, earlier you said that you will fix and repair pens as long as it's your pen. They didn't even have to buy it from Karis Customs or Karis Pen Company. Is there any where can people buy the Karis pens other than Karis Pen Company website? Are there any retailers that you're currently working with, or any stores or anything like that?
I know we used to retail with Jet Pens because they were like a European company, so people would get better rate wages. So Jet Pen still has some of our earlier versions. Um, we will. There's a watch company. Like I'm real bad with remembering names, but there was another gentleman reached out. He owns watches, so we sold him a set of pens. So there's different folks that will distribute our pens, or they'll get them as gifts. We work with a lot of companies. Like we just did a car company called Switch. They do suspension, and they bought like a bunch of retracts with their little logo on it, for gifts, for Christmas gifts. Folks sell them on eBay all the time. People buy, sell, and trade on our Karis Penco forum. So if you join the club, you get a special link to our Facebook group. And there's folks that, like, there's this one lady in Germany, she's my friend, and they're renovating a fire truck to live in. And she is an insane pen collection. Oh my gosh, her collection is, she has over 101 of our pens. We made a cube, a 99 hole pen
Nice.
cube, and it was like 99 problems, but a pen ain't one, was lasered underneath it.
Nice.
Sent her one
I love it.
in Germany. We sent her one over there. So she took a photo with all of her pens, but now she's selling some of the like limited Karis, but a lot of her other collection, to help fund her fire truck renovation. So we do work with different distributors that want to market us. We have no problem. We do have wholesale vendors. We have folks like just locally that will get our pens, and other companies that will brand our pens, but not too many distributors. We're not really big on going on to Amazon or doing it like that yet. But if you have a small pen show or store, or I don't know how, a stationary store would probably be more practical. But yeah, if you want to buy our pens wholesale, we'll sell them to you so you can, spread the word.
I was curious
How
to know what is needed to join the Karis Pen Club.
So if you go online, and I thought I had some coins with me, I don't, I know, womp. But if you go online and you purchase the pen coin on the website, that will register you into the club, and you'll get a coin, and then you get a link, a welcome page that will show you, hey, welcome to the club. Here's the links to our special exclusives. You'll get coupon codes are usually like 35% off. So there's big, and then with the exclusives, only folks in the club can purchase these pens. And then we just run a lot of specials. If you show your club coin at the pen show, we give you a grab bag. So there's a lot of pluses to joining the club.
And it's just the one time that you purchase the coin, and that's it. Like you're good for life, or you have to purchase it like annually. How's that
So we
work?
do, yeah, it's an annual club. So we just started our new club.
Okay.
We try to get the club out to folks early in the year as much as possible, so if you're watching, just join now. And then that way you can take advantage for the rest of the year. And I mean, folks join all the way in November because we'll just launch something exclusive that they have to have. And it's like, oh, I want to sell it to you, but it just defeats the purpose of the club, so.
That's
Is
it's
there
a
an-
really interesting I like the concept because it feels kind of like old fashioned too because there's really seldomly like a club sort of feel about. It's usually like the opposite where it's like you kind of feel a little bit distanced from the companies you buy from. It's like even with Amazon Prime, it's like oh, you buy you have a yearly membership and they just keep taking away features, or it's like, oh, you used to be able to look at Amazon Prime all day long, but now they're going to throw ads in, and now
Yeah.
when you buy something, it's no longer really 2 day shipping. Like they'll send it whatever. It's like they just seem to. But like what you're saying is like all of the exclusives go through there, the limited runs, the discounts, the special group that you guys have for people who want to buy, sell, and trade and stuff. It sounds very rewarding to be part of that experience, especially if you're a fan and collector of Karis.
Yeah, and you feel it. Like we'll have our club page, and people give us recommendations all the time. Like, hey, try this grip, try that, and we do. So a lot of the feedback and stuff, not only do we get through email, we get on these forums, and then Paul he does a podcast, I think once or twice a month on YouTube, and folks go on there and they can chat, and that's anybody. But he really shows, like what we're going to be working on. And I kind of like, people email me all the time, and everyone at the show, they get my personal email. So I have a bunch of friends that, now out of just, communicating. And that's why I like the pen community, because it's like you find things that you have in common with people. Oh, I didn't know you were into graffiti, or I didn't know you were into painting and collecting art. So it feels a lot like a community. And I like the club, the Facebook. It's fun. People show what they're doing or their place setting with their pen and where they're at. Like we travel, we do our pen hides all the time, and that's fun for us. We try to make it challenging, and people are almost stalk us at the pen shows at the end, like, oh, they're gonna leave, they're gonna hide something, so it makes it all fun. And yeah, like that Facebook page is it's a lot of how-tos or asking questions, and it's to a community, so a lot of people, you feel more involved. It's kind of nice.
I noticed that. So I recently purchased this. I think I corresponded with you and you in particular, right? I corresponded with you about this because the copper wasn't up on the website, so I cried about it, and then you said, "Oh no, we do have a few," and then you invoiced me, and Bach nibs have always had a notorious reputation for writing like shit out of the box. However, this one right out of the box wrote like a savage, and I love it. You mentioned earlier that you actually do stuff with the nibs. Are you responsible for this nib writing this well, or is that just luck of the draw? Do you go through every pen that goes out, or how does it work?
So a lot of us had our hand in testing nibs. Now, we used to we test every single nib. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, we sit and handwrite every single nib, and now we're trained. Bill's wife, she's my new trainee on testing nibs, and she does really well, but she's getting familiar with things like hard starts, skipping, scratchy. So at first, it takes a little while to know what that's like. I can show you right up front, but until you start really writing with it, you're not going to know. So at first, I tested a lot of the nibs. Some of Bill's kids tested some nibs. And what they're testing for is it inks and it writes. So sometimes nibs they have a personality of their own, and Every single one of them does.
Sure.
And they're like their own little humans. And some are just great. And, and more times now than not, they're really good. And there was like a titanium fine nib that we got from Bach, and it wasn't slit correctly on all of them. So you can get the scratchy, the tines were uneven. So sometimes those will get by us because, like I said, I do have new folks testing nibs. But if you write me and you get a nib out the box and it's just, you're like, want to be so excited about your pen and then you can't because it's skipping, if you just send me an email, I replace your nibs. I don't even ask questions. It could be the paper. It could be the pressure. It could be your K5 converter. Maybe you didn't primer it. I don't know. I don't want to know. I just want you to be happy out the gate with your pen. So when I send replacements, I do test them. I will smooth them if I have to. I'll make sure it's the best experience that you get if I have to replace your nib. Because normally nib replacements, I'll probably get like 2 a week if I even get anything, so I want to just make sure that you're happy with your nib.
That's not bad.
It's like, don't blame the pen. It's the nib, some of them need a little work. The tines needed to be adjusted, that maybe needed to be open. It's something, there's a million variables why it's skipping or something, so.
Sure.
And I want to say.
Is there?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that in the past you've worked with large retailers like Goulet Pens, and I think were you around for that at that time or not?
Oh, no, I wasn't around for that, but
okay.
we still, talk to them to try to see, they want a pen that's their own. So we still have a relationship with all those pen companies to try to, what can we do to help? What can we collab with?
Oh, okay. Is there any plans about in the future expanding the empire of Karis Pen Company to like other retailers? Like, for example, Tom works for Gold Spot, or my good buddy Ronnie over at Pen Chalet. Is there an immediate plan for that, or is that something that you're considering, or maybe not? Just curious.
No, it's definitely something we're considering. I talked to folks. I don't think it was Pen Chalet. It was gosh, I need to write stuff down. We were talking, but yes, there's folks that are hitting us up that we'll definitely be collaborating with, or you'll see in their shops or on their pet podcasts, or advertising for us and selling our pens. So gosh, I wish I would remember the name. It was a company and they sell like Mont Blanc and all these other fancy names, and they wanted to include us in the lineup. So yeah, why not? So now we were exploring it a lot more, and I would say, early in the near future. Not only are we going to be working with another pen company to do some work for them as a collab, I am be talking with some other distributors about getting our pens on their shelves.
Oh, that's cool. So like the expansion, I always liked the concept of the Karis Pen Company. And from what I understood back years ago when I first learned of the Karis Pen Company, it was called Karis Kustoms at the time. It was just like a dude in his garage, right? And like he made other stuff, and then he just started making pens. And I just love success stories like that, and I like to see companies, American companies like that succeed and do very well. And then on top of that, I also like the artistry of what makes the pen that I love so much, right? So I love that it has an industrial look about it, right? Kind of like a post-apocalyptic, we have to make a pen type of thing, right? You got the 2 hex bolts in there, and then the angled clip, and the whole thing's made out of metal. And then on top of that, it's like a juxtaposition of Art Deco with the lettering on it. And then, like I said before, I know I'm a big nerd and I'm giving that up. It just reminds me of BioShock. I need to know that someone at Karis Pen Company is a BioShock fan back when it was on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, because there has to be some kind of explanation. Like, if I'm playing BioShock and then, like, you're looking around the scenery with your whatever weapon, and then you see a pen on the table, this would be that pen. I for sure, you would find this in BioShock if a pen belonged in BioShock. I have a lot of good memories of that game. Does anybody
I
there
wouldn't
play video
say
games? Are they anybody there?
not. I used to be a big gamer until, you know,
Uh-huh.
in corporate world, I needed to digress. So I would digress playing video games. I love them. I was huge into them. And then my son was big into video games through high school, and he needed to graduate, so I made him sell our console so he can focus on school. And he
Oh no.
graduated, yay, and he went to the Marines and did all this fantastic stuff. But um, I am always a gamer
Good
at
for
heart,
him.
you know. So um,
Mm-hmm.
the BioShock, we definitely have military influences in the shop, big time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's
Right.
I look at things like, oh, that looks cool. It reminds me of the Iron Giant, and you know, so things that are
Right.
relative
Right.
to like video games or cartoons or things that I was, you know, that are nostalgic to me. That's kind of what's big in the shop and helping us design. Like we definitely want to have that retro feel. If you go into the shop, all of
Mm-hmm.
our pictures that are taken, my husband will take these cool photos of pens, we print them, and I frame them with vintage framing everywhere around the shop. We
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of art. If you go into Bill's, he has, you know, front ends hanging up in his shop. So there's just a lot of different things that influence the design there. But yeah, video games, cartoons, any of that it plays big in the role of design that we do. And we do like my sticker sheets when we did like it had like the Mario Brother feel to it. And you know, so we try to really keep it
Yeah.
fun in that sense that it connects. Like our Kara's Penco sticker looked like Cartoon Network, you know. So I'm always trying to take a play
Mm-hmm.
on things that folks can connect with. So I'll do
Mm-hmm.
something
Well,
BioShock
I
relative. See if you can catch it later on.
yeah.
Yeah,
I will. I
yeah,
will.
I
Like
know.
hardcore nerd, I will. But I definitely connect with this pen. I feel like this pen has served me well. And my other one is, I don't want to reach out off screen, but is the brass version. And and this is just there's probably no way you're going to know the answer to this, but was there an uptick in the sale of brass and copper pens after the pandemic had just started due to their antimicrobial properties?
Oh yeah. So me being in pharmaceuticals, that was my heavy niche, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So we did this
Mm-hmm.
thing. So yeah, brass and copper went up huge. And what people need to know about
Mm-hmm.
antimicrobial, meaning the germs won't stick to it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not going to kill the germ. It's you know, it just I guess those germs don't like brass and copper. And so yeah, and we saw a lot of these tools that came out, the touch tool, you know, like you touch the knob with
Right,
this
right. The
metal.
little
And
hook
I just,
tool. Yeah.
yes, so we thought, and we wanted to play light on the pandemic. It was huge for people. And we were fortunate enough to work a little at the shop because our shop is so big. We were never around. We don't need to see each other if we don't have to. You know, you have somebody in the machine in the
Right.
back. We're separated by, well, I'm in the front office. No one ever goes up there and visits me unless they absolutely need something. And she's like, what do you want for lunch? Or, you know,
Right.
like something silly. So we were still able to work during the pandemic lightly. A lot of our sales increased because we were still able to ship. So I would be the only one in the shop shipping
Mm-hmm.
pens. And it just gave something for people to do. And then my husband and I, we were we came out with the touch tool, and it was called the Whatchamacaris, and it was totally just a funny tool to kind of lighten the blow a bit. And we made a really funny
Right.
commercial on it, you know, like he we made his hand look like a pirate with the hook, and then you know you had to like you used it to get beer. It was like a hook, so we had the hook pull beer out of the water, and we had him like he's talked like a pirate through the whole video. It was really funny, but those things sold out so fast because it was just it
Mm.
had a light, and you know people really used it for what it was. I have one on my keychain because it's so heavy and it's like a weapon, and it's kind of like, what do you use this for? But we open bottles with it, like I hit things with it, and so it was just real fun. There's a gentleman that came to the California Pen Show, and he has one, and he still has it, and he's like, this thing really helped me because he was, having to deal with elevators where he lived in California and touching a bunch of stuff. So it worked out for him, and we got cool letters from him because of it. And so it was kind of nice to really kind of lighten the blow when that hit and make something fun and, have a little fun with things.
I remember during the pandemic, what I did was I did a video of top antimicrobial pens because I had done the research on why the hell something is antimicrobial, right? So what I found out in that research, and by research I mean like Google searching and stuff like that, not like a scientific research. I Google searched what happens, and it turns out for metals like brass and copper, it oxidizes constantly, right? It's always in a state of microscopic oxidation. So that process of oxidation, when a germ lands on the oxidizing surface, the chemical reaction of oxidation causes the capsid of the germ or the virus, which is like a bubble, those bubbles we used to blow into the air as kids. It'll kind of erode that bubble the moment it lands and expose the inside of the virus or the germ to elements that make it hostile, and it can't replicate, and then it dies. That's what I found out about it.
Wow.
And so basically this copper pen is constantly just a deathbed for like germs and viruses, right? Not saying you can like stick it into shit.
Just
and
walk
then,
in the room
it,
like this
right?
now.
Don't do that. Right. Right. Yeah. So I did that. And then the thing is, the reason why I did that video is because there were so many pens out there that were antimicrobial because they're brass and copper, but they're lacquered. So if they're lacquered, they're no longer antimicrobial, and they're no longer, oxidizing, right? Because you just created a shield for that oxidation. You need the oxygen. But no, I was just curious if the copper and brass sales went up because of that, and I thought it would, and I was right again. Yay!
And brass and copper is
before
definitely still popular today. Like, we'll have people in the medical field that will only carry our pens because of that factor as well. So, but yeah, after the pandemic,
really
increase in sales, and then even to this day, yeah, medical folks all the time, always first resolution, folks, they always hit us up, and so it's kind of nice.
That's pretty awesome. That is really, I mean, like I said, I love this pen. It has served me well. I've been in some, situations where if I had an acrylic pen in my pocket, it probably would have been broken, right? But the brass pen has served me very well. I like the copper. It's super heavy. But before we end this episode, because it's getting about that time, can you just give everybody, plug Karis Pen Company, plug whatever it is that you want to plug shamelessly, and give them a resource where they can go, where they can find you, what's on sale, what's not on sale, whatever you got for us. Let's hear it, because that's what people want to hear too.
Right. So, Karis Pen Co. Go visit us on our website, karispenco.com or kariscustoms.com. There's a contact us form. If you ever have any questions, you need a special, and there's nothing on sale, just hit me up. I'll help you out. And definitely visit our website. We're working on a new website, so if you're having any difficulties currently, we are working on a brand new launch that's going to take care of a lot of the shopping issues and get you more familiar with our pens. We do carry copper and brass, and a cool thing about our fountain pens, these guys, they can easily be converted into a roller ball or vice versa. There's these tips that come out, and I just unscrew the tip, put your nib right in that, bam. Now you have a fountain pen. So there's
It's
something
like a transformer,
for everybody.
but for real.
There's something for everyone on our page. We have vertexes, folks that want the pull cap and they need to post their pen. That's out there for you. And we just launched a new pen, and it's not a fountain pen, but it's our rollerball pen that has the little side bolt action. This pen I'm showing you has not been released yet. This is just something that we're machining. It's made out of Delrin, but we also have them in Ultim.
What's
So
that?
it's a new like plastic. It's a real heavy plastic. It's not heavy like aluminum, but it's durable, very durable plastic. So that's in this, and we are working on bringing the Ultim back in the Vertex pens. So it will have this look to it that people are collecting. It's a real popular material that's going on right now. But yeah, if you're in the market for anything metal, we're the heavy metal specialists. So hit us up. Cares Pen Co, folks.
Very nice. Well, G, it's been just an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I hope we can get together again and touch base. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
For
It's really
everybody
nice
listening, this was episode number. Oh,
sorry.
yeah. I was looking forward to this for quite some time. So thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday. I know you're not working, but I appreciate you doing this. Tom appreciates you doing this, and everybody listening to episode number 188 of the PenBoyRoy Pentertainment Podcast. We all appreciate it. Thanks again for listening or watching, whatever form of media that makes you happy. Thanks again. Love you guys. Be well. Be safe.
Stay inky.